Hey everyone, and welcome back to the fifth war of the season. The bans today are Ghost and Torch and Hercules. Once again, a very common trio. We're seeing that a lot. And Apocalypse is going to be the star of the show again, this time without Cable. So we are going to have to ramp him up on the quest, take a couple tricky fights on the way to an America Chavez mini boss, who is a really interesting fight that I'm going to take a little bit of time to break down. Also, War Machine is here to take a fight. This is my first time bringing him into a season war, so pretty excited about that fight because it goes off pretty much perfectly. And then we have three Mr. Fantastics on the field today. Two of them are actually taking some fights, but mine, being a 5-star, is just here for the pre-fights. I'm going to use all four. It's all part of the strategy. And speaking of strategy, the reason I am even taking this Hercules is simply we were looking for a fight to start ramping up Apocalypse. You know, he needs to take 3 fights before getting his 4 genetic code or take a mutant, but of course they were pretty smart to not place mutants early, and this was our best bet to get that first and important charge so that we can get on our way to being fully ramped up for the America Chavez mini boss. And Hercules here, I mean, it doesn't make a ton of sense, except that sometimes when you place a defender as like only one defender on a lane, maybe, you know, a not as strong player will get assigned to that lane because it looks easy, and then they'll make a mistake. And on a fight like this, Hercules already will hit pretty hard if he makes contact. He can go stun immune at times. That might catch someone off guard. If, God forbid, you took a special 2, you would get stunned and probably just die. But there are 2 Furies at play here, so I assume that's why they chose this node and not the second node. The fatigue debuffs that are going to start building up on us, they don't really do that much. I mean, they reduce the crit rate, you know, but Apocalypse doesn't really crit a ton anyway. And, you know, most of his damage is the red damage off the specials. But being a 1 prowess, 1 genetic code Apocalypse, this is actually going to take a little bit of time, and I'm okay with that. I didn't want to waste any big boosts because this was going to be the only fight that I took on day 1. Those withers that are applying, that's from the power down attack tactic. They really have no bearing on this fight. You have to just kind of watch out. When you knock him down, he's going to usually get a feat of strength, but sometimes he won't, because I decided to place a concussion on him off of the special 2, so that can stop his feats of strength from happening. But you do have to just take a look at that flexed bicep thing. Whenever it says 1, like it does right now, it means he's going to be stun immune, so you just have to be ready to attempt to stun him, and that will remove the feat of strength. So I have the 2 non-damaging debuffs on him, the concussion and the weakness. I just figured, you know, he's poison resistant, and the degen off of the special 2, I don't think it's going to add that much more damage. I just opted to have a weakness and a concussion. Maybe we can turn off some of his abilities. Maybe if we get hit, it won't hurt as much. But there we chain a heavy into a special 2. There's really nothing to this fight. You just have to be careful. And sometimes these longer fights where you're ramping up, I mean, we're closing in on like 100 hits already. You know, these are the ones where your brain kind of slips away and you can make a mistake. So you know, his heavy is a little weird. It has a little bit of a long range. So there's not really much to say here, except just, you know, be careful. Definitely duel him so that you just like can keep track of, you know, the feats of strength and everything. And unfortunately, even though we have a concussion on, it is not strong enough at this stage of ramping up to stop the immortality. So we're just going to kind of ride out the immortality and then just land a couple hits and we should be fine. Just trying to end this without making any mistakes. He's still stun immune. I hit into the block. It still doesn't kill him. Whatever, we'll just heal up a little bit. But yeah, not the flashiest fight, but I did want to just point out that this was pretty important, because if I was back up in section 1, I wouldn't have gotten enough Apocalypse charges. So next up, I am going to be moving up to node 25 Domino. For about 1 minute, I was thinking about taking the fight to fully ramp up Apocalypse. But we talked it over, and it's really, a lot can go wrong with failed abilities and whatnot. And even though he has the Wither debuff, those could fail. So yeah, we weren't going to do anything rash. even though we of course thought about it. But yeah, I have 4 debuffs to give. So I give Naz the suppression and the petrify, double check that they stuck, and he was able to get that down cleanly. Now we're moving on to path 6. This first node is basically if Bishop gets more than 3 prowess, then his specials are going to be unblockable. And that is a problem for me because I don't have the full dexes all the time. I do sometimes, but I'd rather take like a blocked hit and then dash out of the way for the rest of it. So I apply War Machines to pre-fights. I'm going for the Skirmish, which is more attack and debuff duration, and then the one for Energize. I don't see them, so I just quit out and go back in. That's just kind of good practice. Like, it might be overkill, but I do like to just make sure that they stick. And we can see them on the load screen, make sure we're still recording. But this fight for War Machine is an absolute joke. So there's no way that Bishop will be gaining prowess, because when you bring in a tech champ, you basically are going to never give him prowess on your basic hits. If he throws a special 1, we have to worry about the incinerates, but we do have some energy resistance just in case. I throw in the invuln because why not? We don't want to make any mistakes here. But what you're going to see is that the armor buff that you get is huge. And then additionally, the energy one that we have is really just going to be mitigating almost any damage. Like, look at how much these blocked hits are doing. I mean, we just got a perfect parry. We got, what was that, 80 on that parry. I'm going to throw the special 1 first to get rid of his prowess. It just means that his special attack 2 is going to hit a little bit less hard. I am holding block so that he doesn't throw his special 1. We just want to push him to special 2, and now it's ready. We just kind of dash out at the last second. I don't mind taking a little bit of a blocked hit. And now to speed up the fight a little bit, I'm going to do the same thing, prevent him from throwing his specials. I'm going to throw a special 2. We get a very, very nice armor break. Dash out of that one. We're still very, very high on health. What we can do now is throw a special 1 when you have the armor break, which, you know, this armor break is pretty big. Like, these crits are quite nice. You get guaranteed ruptures, and that's going to pretty much be enough to get him down after that. So War Machine finishes with like 96 or 97% health. No issues at all there. No prowess to deal with. No unblockable. And just a total tank. So yeah, War Machine fulfills his role. Probably the best Bishop counter. I know some would say Ghost, but I just think War Machine is so solid. So this is the first fight of 2 that had me a little worried, and this is why I'm going to be using the read pre-fights. Unfortunately, they don't stay on very long. That's the issue. But it's another rank 4 Doom. So this is the 3rd time I've taken a rank 4 Doom, and I did die earlier in the season using Abomination. So I just felt more comfortable using Apocalypse here. And in terms of Apocalypse, we're mostly going to be bringing him in because this has Hard Knock Life. So I'm going to get a little cheeky and land a couple parries at the beginning. Hoping that we can just get a little bit of the rhythm of the fight, maybe get a Wither debuff on, and then by the time we get our second combo through, then the Hard Knock Life should disappear. It's a little bit of a risk parrying twice at the beginning because one of them could fail and you could take some blocked hits. But this node is basically, if you block one of his specials, any hit of it, then he starts gaining prowess, which means if he gets more than 3 prowess, the next special attack is going to be unblockable. And that's not the end of the world with Doom because his specials can go unblockable anyway, but an unblockable special with 3 prowess on it is bad times. So I start off the fight with a medium ending combo and then a light ending combo to get the Wither. And what I should have done here is thrown a heavy attack to get the read debuffs reapplied because I forgot it's not on the activation of a special, it's on the knockdown. So those completely fall off. The Wither is going to help us with our Mystic Dispersion, but the Petrify would have been nice to keep so that I didn't have to worry about the aura. And right there, one contacted hit converts my Dexterity into a shock and he heavy attacks me. So that's going to be my big mistake, and hopefully I can recover from it. Now that we've lost the Petrify, we can still apply Withers. Special 2 is hitting pretty hard, but the name of this game is basically perfect dexes of the special 2. Like that's It doesn't seem like a lot to do, and I mean it's easier said than done. But on this fight in particular, what you need to practice is the special 2 decks. Because if any of the hits block us, then he's going to get multiple prowess, which means the next one's going to be unblockable. And if you make a mistake on the next one, it's probably going to kill you. Incinerates with 3 prowess are going to hurt. So there's not really any rhyme or reason about which specials I'm throwing at this point. I'm doing a lot of special 1s just to kind of knock him down and keep him aggressive. I refreshed the poison there. I didn't really have to, but why not? Another really nice dex there. We're going to just throw the special 1 again, put the weakness on him, and that should be enough to kill him. So yeah, the strategy with the read pre-fights, I definitely should have found a way to get a heavy attack off, so that would have made it a little easier. But as it was, he only threw 1 special 1, so the aura led us to getting hit 1 time, but it wasn't the end of the world. A pretty good counter there because of the hard knock life. It was just 1 less thing to worry about. Plus rank 4 Apocalypse with over 80k health. He's not that easy to kill. So pretty smooth overall. Then we are moving on to this Moleman. I think certainly someone else could have taken it, but the reason I'm taking it is to fully ramp up Apocalypse. Important to note that in that last fight, I only had 2 genetic codes, so I wasn't even close to fully ramped. And in this fight, I will only have 3. It's got Mighty Charge, so we are putting on the House of X pre-fight so that I'm able to freely land some parries, because Mighty Charge doesn't really count as something that Apocalypse's reduction of accuracy of purification can counter. Mighty Charge is not one of those things. So the fact that we have this House of X pre-fight means that we can freely parry. Our debuffs will go away, but you know, this is a rank 4 Apocalypse with class advantage. I know that even if I don't land a single intercept, I'm going to be doing enough damage to get him down. So really, it's just about baiting specials. It's knowing that we have to be a little careful with the unstoppable. We don't want to be hitting his block. We just have to have good dexes and just kind of keep the fight under control. If we land an intercept, that's nice. It would be quite nice, but there's not really any reason to have to. A little sloppy on the dex there, just kind of took a blocked hit. And then at some point, he kind of just like walks up to me and lights me there, so that was interesting. I don't think it's enough to become bleed immune. That would be funny. It's always nice when you get the free bleed immunity, but took a couple hits there. The bleed damage ticked away. Now I'm trying to land intercepts. I'm not at all worried about time because we're not even halfway done and he's halfway down. But if there's an easy and safe way to land one of those backdraft light intercepts, I'm going to try to do it because it'll just make the fight go over faster. Maybe fight time will matter in this war. I don't know for sure. Right there, he doesn't play into it at all. There he's over a bar of power again, so we can't really do a light intercept there, but here we might be able to, so let's give it a whirl. Finally, he goes right into it, and now this special 2 is going to be hitting for a ton. Finally, we got the full damage, and that was enough to kill him. So yeah, we just needed to land 1 intercept to kind of speed that thing up, but just a good reminder that you don't need to land intercepts to get this node down if you have a good enough counter. It might be tempting, but if you mess up, you could die, so you don't want to do that. All right, so I'm gonna move up to Chavez. She has all 3 read pre-fights. As I said, we had some other reads on the field. They're gonna not really matter because of the way the fight goes down. But I do want to pause it before the fight starts and just kind of go over all the dangers of this fight. It's a pretty common placement now because everyone's banning Torch, and Torch would make this fight a joke because he has Incinerates, active Incinerates, which would basically turn off Stunning Reflection, feed him Polkadot power. She's a Mystic, energy damage, like she's going down easily with Torch. But you do need to think about the counters here. Most people are using Immortal Abomination these days, but if I brought Immortal Abomination, it would have meant I had to go up against that Doom earlier with him instead of Apocalypse, and I just felt better with my rank 4. So the strategy is going to be Advanced Power Boost, starting with a special 1, because the special 1, when fully ramped up, doesn't matter which hit we lead into it, is going to put a poison on her. It's going to turn the timer off, and then we're going to be off to the races. The things with Chavez that are really scary is, I mean, basically her heavy attack it leads to nightmares. If you interrupt the first hit of her heavy attack, it puts you in Utopian parallel, which basically it reduces the potency of your buffs. So for Apocalypse, that does absolutely nothing. It does because we don't get buffs. So if we can, we're going to try to punish that. The middle hit of the heavy, we don't want to be punishing because that gives her like reverberation damage, like Killmonger. The third one is also bad on this node because it reduces ability power, which includes polkadot power and includes power back boosts, which I may need to use later on in the fight. So those are all bad. The other thing is if she stacks a third of any of her dimensions, then she gains a random one of the empty ones, which means you're probably going to get the reverb. So basically my game plan, I was trying to think about how I wanted to start this fight, because when you duel, I think the two most important things you want to do is like, where am I going to find my first opening? How am I going to start the fight? Like, what special am I going to use first? Am I going to heavy counter? Like, all these things. Like, how am I going to start the fight? Because that's one thing you can almost always control. But the other thing I practiced was like, how could I possibly die to this fight? And one of the ways was the special 2. But if you read her abilities, it's only unblockable if you have procced the negative zone, which is the third hit of the heavy attack right before she throws a special 2. So you can do something where if you proc the Utopian parallel, which is off of the first hit of the heavy right before she throws a special 2, then you're going to actually be able to block it, and it's going to be zero issue, especially for someone with so much health like Apocalypse. So that I practiced that a lot, and then one time I did a step back into my special 1 and it missed. And then I started freaking out because I'm like, if I do advanced power boost and I do like a dash back into a special 1 and I miss, then I lose all my power and I lose my ability to apply a poison. And the only way I can get it back is if I throw a heavy to put a bleed on her, right? So I experimented with the opening a lot, and I came up with a solution that I think is going to work pretty well, and it's what I end up doing here. The last part of this fight that I want to talk about before I roll the clip, hopefully all this is marinating in your brain, so when you're watching it, you can kind of know what I was thinking, because it does go by pretty quick. The last thing I was thinking is that I do have the power down tactic, which means if I alternate medium ender and light ender 5-hit combos, I can apply withers. And withers mess with her dimensions anyway. I'm not 100% sure if they work properly on this node, but regardless, withers are really good for controlling Mystic Dispersion and for controlling her little power gain. After she throws a special 1, she gets a lot of power back. So I was also thinking, that could be a tactic, but what I found in this fight is that landing 5-hit combos in a dangerous fight is not always practical, and if I focus too much on that, I could probably get into a little bit of trouble. And what I mean by that is I'm often wanting to shorten my combos or go into a special attack or things like that. So, landing 10 hits in a row of the exact combo isn't always super practical. So as powerful as the power down tactic is for Apocalypse, it's not always something that you can make use of, and we'll see that in this fight. So anyway, hopefully that's enough background on this. The last thing I'll say is that Ludum Taters has also taken this fight this season. This is the second time I've referenced Taters taking a very dangerous rank 4 Apocalypse fight before me and paving the way for me to see, all the potential things that can go wrong. So I'm going to link his channel because it is just invaluable to see the fight before you go in. So thanks, Taters. You're a real stud with Apocalypse, and I appreciate it. Anyway, let's roll this clip. All right, so I've decided instead of stepping back into a special 1, I'm going to hold block and interrupt the first hit. So she gets Utopian Parallel, and now we're going to throw this right away, and this is going to put the shield down. Now, I would like to end with a light ending combo to get a wither, but because she doesn't come to me, I have to stun through block, and I don't get any withers because it wasn't a 5-hit combo. It was a 4-hit combo. So now she's just throwing heavies all over the place. The first one I was able to punish so that we got 2 Utopian Parallels, but the second one I didn't want to do that because then it would fill out our random one. So we do have one of the Dark Dimensions, which is going to blunt our power gain a little bit. Reed pre-fights have fallen off, no Withers. So now this is what I was talking about. She has a special 2, so I want to get Utopian Parallel before she throws it. We get it right there. Now I can safely block this. I'm not going to die. And that's it. Now the fight's back under control. We do a step back into this special one. And now we can even stun her if we need to. And one hit and down. So that happens so quick, right? I wanted to just preamble this by saying I had 12 hours to prepare for this fight. It was really nice because we had some people with schedules that basically I couldn't fight till the second day. So all night I didn't have any assignments. I dueled it a million times. I tried different things. I tried different ways to connect my special attack. I even tried some ways to connect heavies if I got in trouble. And I specifically practiced how to deal with that special 2. Because that would have been game over if I had not baited out that heavy. I would have had to take an unblockable special 2 or pushed her to 3 bars of power, and it would have potentially ended. I mean, Apocalypse has a lot of health, but taking one of those special 2s on a mini boss, I'm not sure he's going to survive that, or it's going to definitely put me in a precarious situation. So anyway, that's the end of my war. Hopefully you enjoyed a little bit of a deeper dive. I just wanted to kind of tell you a little bit about my dueling process and what I was thinking going into that fight, because I was thinking about it a lot over the last 12 hours and was just really happy that I was prepared to go in and get it down. We ended up losing again today. It's not really going too well lately. But there are some bright moments. Like some of our players are really, really nailing it, and there were some very difficult fights that went down without a hitch, and that's always nice to see. And the vibe is still good. It's just we want to kind of turn it around and start winning. So the season's half over. In terms of duration, we've done 5 wars. We're 2 and 3, so we're still in it. Anything can happen in the second half of the season. But yeah, pretty proud of my BG. We had a pretty good war. And Apocalypse just is rocking it this season, and I'm pretty excited about it. So that's going to do it for today. Thanks for checking this out, and I will catch you in the next one.